Manchester United are interested in Mane. No, they aren't bringing Sadio back to the Premier League, but rather they are reportedly showing interest in another Mane, the 18-year-old forward making headlines at Wolves that led me to the realisation I don't really know much about him. That has definitely kept my ego in check. So down the rabbit hole I went to find out more, and find out more I absolutely did. From grassroots football and sitting on the bench in the National League to the most unlikely of transfers and making Premier League history, this is the insane story of Mateus Mane.
Mane, he's taking the ball with him. It's Mane! It's Mateus Mane! Mane! Oh my word!
This story doesn't begin in the way that most do, certainly not compared to most other Premier League players who before the bright lights and dizzying heights spend their developmental years in top youth academies, learning from the best coaches in the best facilities and being given the best possible chance of reaching the very top. Then you get players like Mane, who wasn't in a glamorous academy, he wasn't being hyped up age 12 with TikTok compilations from his youth games. In fact, he was playing Sunday League football whilst acclimatising to a new country, having moved to the UK from his native Portugal at just 8 years old. To understand why that's important, you have to look at the complete improbability of even making it as a Premier League player in the first place. I mean, the chance you'll go pro is 0.012%. That's out of all players in the world. Usually, if you aren't in a Premier League academy by age 12, your chances of a top-flight career even drop further to zero, practically. So imagine the probability if by 16 you're playing for a club like Rochdale in the National League. Yes, that's the 5th tier of English football, but it's a long way from the top. You probably aren't counting the days till you step out at Old Trafford. You're weighing up a semi-pro contract and a part-time job, and that is exactly where in February 2024 Mane found himself, a 16-year-old substitute in the world of non-league football. But here, this is where things start to get, let's say, a little unusual. Wolves sent a scout to watch Rochdale's youth games, where they found something that the system had missed: a raw, talented, yet unpolished player, a product of a footballing education outside of the top academies. With a few other teams offering trials, Wolves went one step further and offered him a deal, signing him for a nominal fee and providing Mane with the platform and infrastructure to make the most of his potential. In less than 18 months in the Midlands, he didn't just climb the ladder. He skipped a few rungs altogether. He dabbled in the under-16s and under-18s, skipped the under-21s, and went straight for the throat of the best league in the world, making Premier League history for Wolves as their youngest ever player in the competition at just 17 years, 7 months and 24 days old. But even before his debut in May of 2025, the secret of his potential was out, and Mane found himself at the centre of a bit of a diplomatic nightmare. Imagine this. You're 17, you've just started getting used to the pace of professional training, and suddenly your phone blows up. The English FA call, and then a day later, the Portuguese Federation do the same. The latest under-18 squad list for both nations have been released, and your name is on both of them. This was Mane's predicament in October of 2024. It wasn't just a choice he had to make, but also a lesson in dealing with big decisions that could potentially have a big effect on his career. The jeopardy here was massive. You pick England and you're a traitor to your roots in Portugal. You pick Portugal and you're turning your back on the country that gave you your break. So what did he decide to do in the end? He chose England. He went off to the camp, was put straight into the starting 11 for the first game, and who was the opponent? Of course, Portugal. This decision showed exactly what Mane is made of mentally. He didn't crumble, he didn't hide, he didn't take the more comfortable route by choosing what he already knew. It proved to the footballing world that Mane wasn't just a cheap non-league find worth a punt, but he was seen as a high-value asset both inside and outside the club. If you were to recalculate that percentage from earlier of how likely he'd be to make the Premier League, it would increase, albeit ever so slightly, with the fact he was now amongst the best in his age group across 2 of the best footballing nations. Do you want more from FourFourTwo? Then why not join our community with a completely free membership? There's loads of benefits, including extra content, quizzes, Q&As, fan discussions, plus plenty more. All you have to do is click the link in the description and sign up with your email. Fast forward from the international dilemma though, and through the Premier League debut, where you get to the current season, and his reputation has gone one way, while his side's form has gone completely the other. Molineux is a dark, dark place. Wolves are having their worst season in modern history. Rock bottom. As I write this, they are 18 points from safety, a situation the most hardened of pros would find difficult to cope with, let alone excel in. Yet, somehow, this doesn't seem to have affected Mane negatively. In fact, it's the opposite. After a few impressive sub-performances, he was given a run in the first team with 4 starts either side of the new year and came out unscathed, thriving even. 2 goals, 1 man of the match award, and the first one of the season for Wolves versus West Ham, including a brilliant goal from Mane, and he never looked back. He actually became the youngest Premier League goal scorer in the club's history, and probably the only reason most Wolves fans still show up week in, week out. He's existing in this sort of weird footballing chasm, where the almost certain team failure has freed him on an individual level. He'll never be the one blamed for relegation, as he shouldn't, but he can use his time in the top flight wisely to show exactly why he belongs at this level. It sounds selfish, and I'm not saying it's his ultimate motive, but if he's looking to continue this meteoric rise, he has to be thinking about playing in the Premier League next season, even when it's clear that his club won't be. And that is exactly where the transfer rumour that began this whole investigation came to my attention. Manchester United, 50 million quid, the theatre of dreams awaiting. It's not a given at this stage by any means, but it would represent an interesting opportunity for Mane to come full circle, let's say, only a few years after earning his footballing stripes as a young kid on the streets, parks and playgrounds of Greater Manchester. We've seen it before though, Paul Pogba, Jadon Sancho, players who return to Manchester with massive price tags and even bigger expectations, only to fall short of them. If Mane goes to United for 50 million, he is not the plucky kid from Rochdale anymore. He's a marquee signing for the future, costing the same as a marquee signing for now, give or take a few million. The pressure to perform will be different. It's almost personal. But is he just another purple patch player being overhyped by the media, or does this signing make sense for United? First off, let's look at the player profile. During his youth time at Rochdale and Wolves, he played in a number of attacking positions, but the number 10 role is clearly his strong suit. It's where Rob Edwards has played him and, well, has clearly allowed him to make enough of an impact that we were discussing this rumour in the first place. Of course, in terms of senior football, we're looking at a small pool of data, but his positional awareness, ability to play on the half-turn, comfortability on the ball, especially whilst dribbling, as well as his small stature and change of pace, make him a tantalising prospect straight off the bat. Which team wouldn't want to have an exciting youngster like that in their team? However, if we compare this to Manchester United's current setup, you've obviously got a very, very different type of player in that position in Bruno Fernandes. Mane doesn't need to be a copy, he can do his own thing. But the sheer amount of quality and match-winning prowess that Bruno brings to United is something that they will need to replace in the near future with his contract running out next summer. My personal opinion is that replacing Bruno, whenever that day comes, is a big enough task for any player at any age, never mind for a young player with a different playing style and a huge price tag. It's not the perfect fit, and I'd be amazed if United didn't go out and make a big statement signing to replace Bruno. But on the flip side, the idea that he can come in and replace Bruno is almost too limiting. My mind can expand ever so slightly beyond that. I think Mane has a wide range of capabilities that could suit him to other positions and other systems. He's young, he's got plenty of time to learn. He could finally get that academy polish he missed out on as a kid, just in the heat of the battle, as opposed to the incubator. Given the age of United's attacking options across the board, Bruno being 31, Cunha and Burmo and Mount all 27 by the start of next season, Mane could come into a situation where he'd play less than now, for sure, but he'd also be learning day in, day out from top-level players. Staying at Wolves would see him play more at a different level with a different kind of pressure. But hey, pressure makes diamonds and all that. So with all that being said, we return to the question of whether he'd be worth it, and for me, I'd say no. I can't imagine a world where he contributes 50 million's worth of quality next season to Manchester United. However, as with all young players, you're not buying for the now, you're buying for the potential, for the future, for what he could be. And getting him in early before he has another brilliant season and costs twice as much could be a good idea. His pathway wasn't an ordinary one. His meteoric rise wasn't an ordinary one either. But maybe, just maybe, that's what makes him extraordinary. What do you guys think of Mateus Mane's potential move to Manchester United? Let me know in the comments. Smash the subscribe button because we've got loads more content coming up on 442, of which you can also buy the magazine, which is in stores now and perfectly placed right behind me. There's a new one every single month. But until next video, I'll see you guys later.